But now that I'm a real streamer and not just a fake streamer.
So Alana Pearce left her job at Santa Monica Studio, probably because her writing didn't actually make it into the credits. Instead of facing that, she decided to jump into streaming.
And then cry about being cancelled or whatever.
She went from God of War, well, kind of, to becoming a Twitch personality, where she peddles her expertise on gaming drama.
The drama will always fall on me.
Even though her real contribution was probably just posting the occasional tweet. Now, instead of writing games, she's streaming to a crowd of gooners and pretending she's still relevant.
I don't even fucking try. You ain't gotta worry about that shit.
Classic career pivot. Have you ever wondered why so many industry insiders suddenly leave their positions, only to reappear online as self-proclaimed champions of gaming?
That said though, everybody, now that I'm a real streamer, on a schedule.
A lot is happening online right now. Gamergate is making waves again with developers denouncing DEI. The Switch 2 announcement has sparked debates, and Christians and anti-woke crowds are clashing. But today, I want to focus on a topic that's been bothering me, Nyafita. Recently, Caliph Adams, an individual I didn't know existed until this morning, has posted on X. Seeing so much glee about cancelled projects is just gross. And Alana Pearce, a self-proclaimed YouTuber and former game developer who thrives on borrowed merit, chimed in, pretending to carry weight in the conversation, and replied with, "People who want games to fail are tourists. Fake gamers, the lot of them." Now, I consider these individuals pathetic, and they should not be granted any importance. But we the gamers are being attacked by this self-proclaimed fake artist. Now, I've followed Alana's work for a while, and this is what she has been up to.
With like a camera in front of their face, motion capture is when they're moving their bodies. Performance capture is able to pick up more nuances of the human face. And so hand in hand with improved graphical fidelity in video games, you are able to actually capture more like micro movements in the human face. So your face scans need to be more accurate and in general a little bit more human, thus more flawed, 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 thus more flawed. Humans have a bunch of flaws on their faces. This is a very common part of being human. Nobody's fully symmetrical, nobody looks cartoonish. So as video games in general are getting less cartoonish, again, this is why I think it's specific to the West. I feel like there are still a lot of Japanese games made with like more anime art styles. It is easier to make somebody look perfect, essentially, and thus less like a real human. But you have to have more accurate face scans that can't just be about symmetry, where like maybe they would have created a face that looks a lot more cartoonish, because then you are picking up the facial expressions, those micro expressions in people's faces. And you are often taking a model and mapping it onto the performance capture and blending those two things, which is an awkward process in general, especially if your models are different to...
Alana Pearce has been vocal about her stance that women in games should be portrayed more realistically. According to her, female characters should prioritize being accurate and relatable over being attractive or visually appealing. She's advocated for designs that highlight flaws, imperfections, and real-world traits, arguing that beautiful female characters perpetuate unrealistic standards. In her view, strong, boring, and even unattractive women are more empowering than traditional depictions of beauty. Pearce announced her position as a writer at Sony Santa Monica, the studio behind God of War Ragnarok. However, discussions on platforms like Twitter have questioned the extent of her contributions, noting her absence from the game's writing credits. She has also been called out by people who worked in the game.
I don't really know. I don't know.
She instead worked on the God of War cookbook, a pointless contribution that has nothing to do with the game. She was also part of the diversity and inclusion team, a group of people with the sole purpose of corrupting games with gay propaganda. A group who emasculated Kratos and race-swapped Norse goddess Angerboda from white to black. During the Game Awards 2024, Pearce claimed to have witnessed a developer from Game Science, the studio behind Black Myth Wukong, crying after their game lost the Game of the Year award.
And I was in the front row this year. It was my first time being in the front row. I was like, wow, thanks, Jeff. Great seats. But being in the front row means that you can see all of the actually important people. So like next to me was the whole Sony team. Frankly, that's probably why they put me there, was because when they gave me the seat, I was with Sony. So I was with the Sony publishing team. Behind me was Joseph Faris. Just behind him was Sam Lake, both of whom I know and am very fond of. They're both really great dudes. But I could see all of the nominees and awards winners, and the Black Myth Wukong team, I don't know which person on the team, was crying when Astrobot got Game of the Year. because you could see him just looking down the line, which is
I feel like she's having one of those moments where she's like, they all look alike.
the first time I've ever seen anything like that, because generally everyone is like, Game Awards doesn't matter that much. But yeah, the Wukong team were crying when they did not win, which was definitely unusual. Clearly meant a lot to them. They did an amazing thing. But I did find that surprising. Like, whoa. Did it look like celebratory crying? No. They were upset. Definitely upset that they didn't win. Which is also fair. But it was still just surprising, is really all I'm saying.
She claimed that she was next to the directed and witnessed him cry over the lost. This statement was widely reported, leading to a response from the developers.
Have you heard about what the Wukong CEO said? Yeah, I heard it got totally misrepresented because, once again, people don't speak Chinese.
Context. In the last couple days, Black Myth Wukong devs have been dragged through the mud for particularly two things. First, because it came out that in a statement, Game Science's CEO said he felt wronged by the Game Awards and had a Game of the Year acceptance speech prepared since 2 years ago. People who could actually read the post tried to correct the story, but it was already too late. The CEO was in fact grateful for winning 2 awards and made a joke while responding to the Wukong fans who were frustrated.
So again, what this boils down to is just like the original article, the hit piece written by Rebecca Valentine, this is another situation where they did not take an accurate translation and use it in good faith. It was probably the worst possible translation, and again, written in a way that will portray the people at Game Science in a negative light.
But this is nothing compared to what actually caused the firestorm.
And I was in the front row this year, and the Black Myth Wukong team, I don't know which person on the team, was crying when Astrobot got Game of the Year, because you could see him just looking down the line. They were upset, definitely upset.
And of course, everyone thought Alana was talking about the CEO, and the video went giga viral since it reinforced the narrative. Then the former editor-in-chief of IGN China came out refuting this, and so I decided to went back and check the actual video. As you can see, at the end of the line there's Game Science CEO. This is the same person that is being criticized for being mad about losing the Game of the Year and accused of sexism earlier this year by IGN.
He looks like a happy guy to me. I don't know about you guys, but that's a big old smile on his face.
In a complete mistranslation, which we rebuked many times. All right, then we can just go and see his reaction when Astrobot won the award.
Astrobot!
And there it is. Now, I'm not saying Alana is lying, as the other devs beside him might have been more upset, but Twitter creating a fan fiction where the CEO was crying and upset is absolutely false.
Here's what my opinion is about the Wukong thing. They had those accusations of sexism and misogyny at Game Science, and in a panel that's made up of 90% Western journalists. I mean, fuck, they could have been, doing ritual killings, and it probably would have been better for them than potentially somebody making a comment that might be considered sexist. I feel like Wukong did win the only category that really matters, which is player's choice. That's the category that, consumers actually decide on, and they beat out 3 gacha games. Each gacha game, there's an incentive because they get free pulls for characters if the game wins. People had no incentive to vote for Wukong. They just did it because they thought the game was that good.
And again, these are things that matter because gamers are the ones who actually buy these games. But it gets even better. So now you see Charles Young here on Twitter, who apparently works for IGN China, says it's obvious that she mistook talking about Alana Pearce someone else. Since I was with the Game Science team the entire time during those days, including the TGA night, no one cried over this. In fact, I didn't see anyone crying at the event. I have no idea why she said so. Further down, someone's like, it's gross any way you look at it. Spilling the tea and dramatizing this is weird, rude, and disrespectful, click-starving behavior. I was embarrassed and sad watching this clip, and I think that describes Alana Pearce pretty accurately. It's just kind of sad and pathetic.
Is there something that you is a go-to for streamers that you watch that I'm not doing? I don't watch a lot of streams, so...
I'm not sure if she is lying or she is just racist, maybe both. Pearce shared the artwork of Wolf from Sekiro Shadows Die Twice on her social media, implying it was her creation. It was later revealed that the artwork was created by another artist, leading to accusations of misrepresentation. These incidents suggest a pattern of behavior where Pearce's statements and actions do not align with the facts, raising concerns about her authenticity within the gaming community. She called people who want certain games to fail tourists and fake gamers. Gamers have every right to voice their opinions about the products we're being sold. If a game fails, it's because the market didn't want it, period. That's capitalism. Alana is against freedom of speech and wants you subjected to the corrupted industry she is part of. Alana's response reeks of desperation from someone losing relevance. Instead of adapting like rappers jumping onto Twitch and podcasts to stay relevant, she's flailing. Resorting to insults like fake gamers is just weak. First, we're basement dwellers with no lives. Now we're fake gamers? Pick a narrative, please.
Is there anything I need to change?
Look, we don't have to cheer for every game just because developers worked on it. If something's bad, it's bad. Imagine Apple releasing a new iPhone without a camera and expecting people to buy it just because it's new. We as consumers have the right to say no. The same applies to games. The problem with people like Alana, and yes, Melanie Mac too, is that they throw out these divisive labels and expect no pushback. But guess what? You don't get to dictate what makes someone a real gamer. The community decides that, and the community is speaking loud and clear.
What am I doing wrong?
Alana Pearce has proven time and time again that she's less interested in being honest with gamers and more focused on controlling the narrative to suit her own agenda and that of the corporations she aligns herself with.
Never stop stimulating your viewers?
She portrays herself as an advocate for the gaming community, but her actions speak otherwise. By defending and promoting broken, unfinished, and overpriced games, she effectively sides with the greedy companies exploiting gamers. Her dismissive attitude towards criticism from the gaming community reveals her true colors. She doesn't care about gamers or their concerns. Instead, she works to silence dissent, pushing the idea that we should simply accept whatever these corporations throw at us without question. Her disdain for those who demand better from the industry shows her real intentions: to manipulate us into obedience, stifle our voices, and enable the ongoing degradation of gaming as a passion-driven medium. If you're a creator in this space, the message is clear. Listen to your audience. Experimentation is fine, but ignoring your core fan base, after already failing, is a recipe for disaster. Alana Pearce recently mentioned leaving her position as a game writer at Santa Monica Studio, a move that follows a disturbingly familiar pattern among certain figures in the industry.
I'm making this video to tell you all that I am leaving Sony Santa Monica Studio, where I've been employed as a writer for the last 4 years. Technically, my 5th year started on November 17th.
It's highly plausible that she was quietly let go, only to spin the story in her favor, much like many others who share this troubling trend. Instead of facing the truth, they craft a narrative to mask their failures and maintain a facade of credibility. What's even more telling is what happens next. She inevitably transitioned into becoming a mediocre prostitute on Twitch.
I hate them. Debate bro against your male audience? I feel like I already do that.
Alana Pearce voiced a character in Cyberpunk 2077, and the developers even created an NPC modeled after her, because clearly the game needed a little extra influencer touch to fix its problems. Alana Pearce thrives on controversy and attention, often inserting herself into gaming debates with shallow takes, dismissing valid criticism, and backing corporate agendas. Her pattern of exaggeration, misplaced self-importance, and divisive remarks reveals her disconnect from the gaming community she claims to represent, pandering to a questionable gooner audience that eats up her manufactured personas. At her core, she embodies the role of an online grifter, pushing broken dreams wrapped in corporate propaganda, while attempting to rob gamers of their independence, passion, and hard-earned money. By selling the illusion of being an insider, she perpetuates the cycle of exploitation, encouraging people to accept overpriced, incomplete games without question. This is nothing short of an attempt to strip away the soul and freedom of the gaming community. It's time to see through this charade. Gamers must reject these manipulative tactics and fight back against those who seek to control the narrative for their own gain. Say no to the lies, the exploitation, and the complacency that figures like Pearce promote. Stand for accountability, transparency, and a gaming industry that respects its audience instead of preying on them.
You can support me on Patreon. That is going towards making a whole bunch of game dev focused content. You could sub here on Twitch. You could watch stuff.